I'm Brian Wickman, Marketing Coordinator for Educational Achievement Publishing. I'm joined today with Kathy Madigan, Dr. Kathleen Madigan from the National Institute for Direct Instruction. She's a Program Director and Project Consultant. So Kathy, thank you for coming in today and giving us a bit of your time to talk about Direct Instruction Spoken English, or DISE, as it's also abbreviated to. So thanks for coming in today.
My pleasure. Nice to be here, Brian.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about your background in working with ELL learners?
I started teaching in the Central Valley of California many years ago. Over 80% of my kids, when I was teaching throughout all those years, were English language learners. So I've been working with students who have not had English as their primary language for a very long time. Throughout my career as a principal, a teacher, college professor, researcher, and now as the project director for NIFTY, I've worked with students and families for whom English is not their first language. I currently oversee the implementation of direct instruction programs for students in grades 3 through 8 in over 100 schools in Florida, Louisiana, and Texas. So we have lots and lots of students with learning needs in terms of English.
Great. So what's your experience with using the DISE program?
For about the last 8 years, we have been implementing the DISE program, as I said, in all of our different schools within this very broad implementation. And we have students from 4th grade all the way through actually 10th grade for our DISE implementations. And we've seen just remarkable growth and great skills learned with using the DISE program. So we've had lots of teachers and parents. I mean, it's been a remarkable experience. So I would say, I was looking at it just the other day, I would say clearly over like a couple of thousand students in the last few years.
I see. And what approaches had you utilized for teaching English language learners prior to DISE?
Well, the district I was using, oh my gosh, they had computer-based programs where kids would just go on the computer and try to learn how to do English. They had teachers that knew the students' primary language and would do a lot of translations for the kids. They had some programs that were really designed for kindergarten level students, but they were using them with older students, which these programs just didn't fit the need. They just weren't working. And so then the district looked for a different program, and that's when they found DISE.
I see. So what do you think what would you attribute the effectiveness of the program and its outcomes? What would you attribute that to?
I think, the difference is really night and day. One of the differences has to do with the way, obviously, the direct instruction programs are designed. They are designed for generalization. So we get all the oral language developed before we start doing a bunch of other things with our kids. And once we get that oral language developed, then students have a hook for when they're going to be learning other information. They go, oh yeah, I've heard that word before because I said it. So they're developing that oral language like the direct instruction spoken English DISE program actually implements. I think the other thing that's been remarkable in terms of just the differences is that it's actually been an interaction. So when they're doing a computer, nobody really hears what the student's saying. So they're just sitting at a computer and they're like answering things, or they might say something, but there's not feedback about whether they're pronouncing things correctly. They're just talking to the computer. So when we have our teachers doing a great job of instructing the students, then we see enormous difference in performance because they're actually getting an interaction with an adult. And a big difference is that we don't have translations going on in the program. So they're totally immersed in English. It's this total immersion. So, and that's very helpful because not all of our students have just one language that are in the different DISE programs. We might have a group of students that have a whole, in the group, we might have like 10 students and there could be 5 different primary languages within that group. So we want to make sure that they're totally immersed in English and there isn't that translation going back and forth. So they're not learning inappropriate syntax, or they're not just like switching word here and there. They actually are learning English within an English environment. So it's been a very big difference in terms of student performance.
Nice. Yeah, that makes an awful lot of sense. So can you tell me what kind of challenges have you encountered implementing the program, and how did you address those challenges?
I think one of the things that has been a challenge in terms of implementation is that one lesson in DISE takes 90 minutes. So we need to make sure we get a solid instructional time for that 90 minutes. Now, most of the schools have recognized that we have students that are coming to us that have not experienced English before. And so having them in any other academic environment is probably not as beneficial as having them in a 90-minute program. So they really have been able to prioritize our students in giving the 90 minutes, but that can cause scheduling challenges for staffing and all sorts of things. So we've worked around that. We've created priorities for our students, especially students that are like new students. So we'll have like a new entry-level program, and that DISE is part of that new environment. We also have older students in particular who may not have solid skills in their primary language, that they're literate in their primary language up to a point, but they may not have skills beyond that because they haven't had enough schooling to be able to learn their primary language sufficiently. So that means that their skills or experience in learning a language are limited, not just English, but learning any language. Those skills are limited. So one of the things that we've worked on is really making sure our teachers understand that when we have students that have that particular need in the classroom, that we may need to do the first lessons in the program twice instead of just one time. So we'll go through all the lessons and then we go through them again so that we make sure that they learn how to learn the language. And that really has seemed to make a big difference. So anybody who's going to be doing DISE, look at your learners and see, are they learners that really have a solid background on how to learn language, even in their primary language? If they don't, then you need to really think about whether you're going to do the program at least the first 10 to 15 lessons if you're going to do them twice. I think the other thing that happens is when we have vacations or breaks, then we have to make sure that we have some good maintenance activities for the students. Otherwise, they go to a home environment where their home language is what they're going to be speaking for a couple of weeks or during summer the whole time. So we need to make sure their new fragile English skills are actually maintained. So we'll do things like we'll give them assignments like watch English speaking TV for 2 hours every day. It's like they'll have an assignment where they're supposed, or listen to TikTok or podcasts do something for 2 hours in English. You have to like verify that you did this, just so that they keep their English skills going. And it's not just all in their native language. So the 90-minute period is something that we've worked around. Older students who need multiple repetitions and how to learn a language. And then, as I said before, making sure that we get some good maintenance in the home environment.
Great. And remind me the ideal age or grade level for these students entering into the program. Is it fourth grade?
They should have, exactly. They should have, students should be at least a 4th grade level in their primary language. So they should have kind of similar 4th grade level skills in their primary language. So you know, kids will know animals, they'll colors, they'll have a fairly sophisticated sense of how to think about grammar, just in their own language, not anything advanced, but just in their own language.
But it is equally suitable for learners, adult learners. Your say adult basic education kind of student, correct?
Absolutely. So and in fact, we've had schools implement the DISE program with parents and families. So they've brought them in during the summer or after school for specialty classes, so that the parents are actually learning DISE along with their kiddos as well, which has been just, when the schools do that, it's really fun to see the parents and the kids learning together. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll have it all the way through our high school students. Mm-hmm.
Well, that segues kind of nicely into this. So what effect has DISE had on students outside of class? I mean, have you seen application actually of what they're learning, or are they just doing the lessons in the classroom?
Oh yeah, sure. No. They're not just doing them in the classroom. They definitely take their language out in other places and they practice together. You'll see them out on the recess or playground, for the 4th and 5th graders in particular, you'll see them out there and they'll be playing soccer and they'll stop and say, "This is a ball. What is he doing? He's bouncing." I mean, they'll be using the stuff that they've been learning in class. I think more importantly, however, are the reports from teachers in the content area that have told us specifically that once, the students, when they first came, they didn't know how to communicate. They didn't even know how to ask for help or ask for directions or understand some of the key features that the teachers were saying. And by mid-year, oh my goodness, the teachers in the regular classrooms, the content area classrooms, are saying things like, "Wow, what are you guys doing? This is amazing." He won't stop talking. He's talking all the time. He wants to answer all the questions. So we get very interactive students once they start getting a handle on the language. It's pretty exciting.
Well, that's great. Yeah, it must be real gratifying for all involved. Yes, actually, there was just a recently released study that's going to be coming out in JESPAR on the DISE program, and one of the areas that they noticed was a great increase, and this is with 750 students in a couple of states, but they noticed highly increased oral reading fluency measure, which is something the program doesn't even touch. I mean, it's got nothing to do with oral reading fluency.
Right.
There we go. Okay.
Right. Well, could I just add to that? Because it's an interesting, I mean, you had the 750. We've had probably for the last 5 years in the district that I'm working in right now, they do progress monitoring every quarter. So we have 4 assessments, computer adaptive assessments that the students take. All students who are 2 or grade levels below take this assessment 4 times a year. And then they measure growth. And the goal is that students are supposed to either get on grade level or that they grow 2 grade levels within 1 year. And the measure is for reading, and it's reading comp, reading analysis, so all of the different features of reading. Again, not something we're teaching in the DISE program. We're doing oral language. But consistently, the DISE program has our students will be on or above grade level, or they generally, I think like 95% of the DISE students will meet the 2-year gain target within 1 year. So consistently on reading measures, not just oral reading fluency, which is an interesting, wonderful measure, but also on the comprehension questions, also on the other features that we would consider reading, the students are making amazing growth and changes when we're not directly instructing the reading. We're actually just working on their oral language. So that generalization from oral language to reading is happening beyond just, the regular classroom. Is also being assessed within those progress monitors.
Excellent. I'd like to give you a chance, just if you have any parting words of wisdom, any comments, suggestions, here's your chance.
I think the biggest suggestion I would make is make sure that you give students a placement test. There is a placement test in the program, and make sure that you do that, because there are different entry points into the program, and those different entry points can make a big difference for student learning. So they start at lesson 1 versus lesson 31. That's a big difference, because out of a total of 100 lessons, they can move faster and gain more. So just don't think, oh, start at lesson 1 and go through 100. It's like, oh my goodness, I can actually do a placement assessment and have different entry points and see learners grow and develop at a more quicker rate. So that's sort of like the little inside hint to make sure.
Yeah.
But thanks for letting me share.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate what you're doing out there in the field and sharing your experiences with direct instruction spoken English.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.